Okay, so I'm going to go over some of the main social studies curriculums that people use. And I'm going to do another video after this one to show you some alternative resources. So the first one that most homeschoolers I know use is called The Story of the World. This one is Christian based and they have a different volume for every year. The nice thing about these is that you just open it up and you read it to them. And so it's pretty short, there's not a lot of pictures, and it's in black and white. So it usually has a couple of paragraphs putting the child into the story. Like imagine that you're an explorer in the world 1600, and then you read through, and then you get to the end of that section. So it's not very long, and I'm sure that there's books that go along with this that give you activities that you can do as well. A lot of my friends will just get the CDs of this and then they put them in their vehicles and listen to them when they drive to their activities. So that's definitely a way of doing that. You could get through this easily in a day or two so that you only have to do social studies a few days a week. Another one that is similar, that's also Christian based, is called Tapestry of Grace. And the nice thing about that one is that they give you a list of books that are leveled. So you can get ones for your older students and your younger students, and then you can be studying the same thing all together. So most people that would use this one, your kids are all going to be studying the same thing at the same time. Even though some of these, like this one is intended, this is volume 3, so this one is intended for older kids. But I know a lot of my friends, they'll just have all their kids working through the same social studies at a time. So let's look at some other ones. This one is by Abeka, and that's the main Christian curriculum that people use if they buy the whole big curriculum. So this one is just the student's book. And I think this must be for middle school because it's kind of text heavy. So you have nice colored pictures, reading through a pretty long section, and then just like your regular books, it's got questions for you to do at the end. So you can also get the teacher's version of this, and it would give you quizzes and tests to do, but pretty much it's just your standard book work. This one is by McGraw-Hill, and it's a secular company. This one's called The Complete Book of World History. So it's grades 4 through 8. And the reason why it's 4 through 8 is because it's covering all of history. So it's pretty cool. I've never used it, but I like the pictures, and I would probably, if I was going to do it this way, this is probably one that I'd use. So it starts out with some of the basics about history, and then it gives you just 2 pages to read, and it's got this cool timeline on the side with all of the main events. So that you could just, read through this day by day, getting through all of history eventually. So that's one really neat way to do it. I like that book a lot. Here's a good one for younger students. This is called A Child's First Library of Learning. This one is famous places. So usually, in kindergarten, you want to talk about things like Statue of Liberty and other symbols of America, and then you could build up from there. So it just goes through a bunch of famous places, like that was Suspension Bridge, Stonehenge, Eiffel Tower. So it's nice because it's got great colored pictures and it's not a lot to read. Like you could easily sit down and read this with your elementary student and just talk about the places in the world. This is by the same company and it's called The World We Live In. And so this one covers more like culture. So what do people wear around the world? What are different musical instruments? So this one's nice if you wanted to talk about the world, more what are people like. And then one last one that I've never used but I think is really neat. This one's called Window on the World, and it has all the countries listed in alphabetical order, and it's got great pictures that are in color. It's not too much to read. This would be a nice supplement book when you could, like, if you weren't wanting to focus heavily on social studies, you just wanted to have a collection of, talking about these places. And what's really neat about this one is it gives you a box here about what to pray for these people. So to help you pray for Mongolia, you can thank God for those Mongolians who have come to know Jesus, the New Testament in Mongolia, and then you can ask God for, and one of the things is to help those translating the Old Testament. So this was an older version, but you know, you could get by with this or find the most recent copy. So there are some different curriculums that you could look at, and if you don't like those, then stay tuned for my next video.